Hello, everyone. I am Ankita Nupur, the moderator of this session. Welcome you all on this session. Thank you for tuning in. As we all know, the current pandemic times is so difficult and it has affected our professional lives. At the same time, the way we communicate, and it is bringing a toll on a lot of our mental health. So, even in many parts of the world, most of us are still in quarantine, which is taking a toll on our anxiety and stress. So, that's why this week on Virtual We Talk, we welcome a remarkable woman who's a therapeutic movement facilitator. She teaches dance therapy. She's also a social activist and an entrepreneur. Please join me in welcoming Miss Reetu Jain.
Thank you so much, Ankita,
Hello,
for
ma'am.
that.
How are you doing?
Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm introduction. And I'd like to say hi to everyone who's out there right now, wherever you may be. I also thank you for this opportunity, especially Womennovator, as well as all the partners that made this happen. It's lovely to be here and to be with all the people that are out there watching right now from homes or wherever they may be. So thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out this time for us today.
Sure.
So,
It's lovely to be here.
Womennovator has always right, ma'am. So, Womennovator has always believed in bringing out innovative and different ideas from especially women working in different areas. So, let me take this quick opportunity to briefly introduce you to our audience. So, her organization, the Creative Movement Therapy Association of India, is the first organization to bring the dance and creative therapy as mental health and wellness option. She has strived to create an open and a space for self-discovery, dialogue in terms of expression. She has worked majorly with the transgenders and also a lot of young people. So she strives to create a safe and open space where people who were not able to express themselves properly feel safe and secure to do the same. So today's topic is therapeutic movement and dance movement therapy for mental health and well-being in the COVID-19 times. So, ma'am, let's dive deep into the topic. And I would want you to tell our audience that what is exactly dance therapy, dance movement therapy?
Sure. I think before we actually talk about dance movement therapy, I think it's important to look at these terms therapeutic and therapy. So we keep saying things like therapeutic or therapy, and many times colloquially, they are used interchangeably. However, they are very distinct. And so I'd like to sort of expand the understanding of that. When we talk about something that makes us feel good, we usually will say things like, oh, that was so therapeutic, whether it's cooking or maybe socializing with friends, or watching a good film, or maybe even working out, maybe even dancing, right? So we'll say, oh, that was so therapeutic.
Right.
And when we talk about therapy, we're looking at working at a deeper level, right? Maybe addressing and finding resolution on issues that stem from social, emotional, physical, psychological levels. So there's a difference there in when we talk about therapeutic and therapy. Now, of course, the other big important sort of issue here is that, unfortunately, even the term therapy or mental health are looked at very parochially. They're looked at from a very narrow point of view, which stigmatizes them, in our society. So it's really important that we understand and open up our perceptions of what mental health and therapy can be. And if you think about it, there doesn't have to be anything that's wrong with you for you to go to therapy. Therapy is not only for those who have severe mental health conditions. Therapy is for any of us, because all of us are dealing with issues. All of us are dealing with varied feelings. All of us have something or another that we might want to work on. So therapy is one avenue to do that.
Right.
And I think it's really, again, important for us to understand this and keep destigmatizing and keep talking about mental health and what our options are so that people can go and get help when they need it, and we can support each other in this. So now to get to your question of exactly what is dance therapy, dance movement therapy, and we also call it creative movement therapy, is using the body and its movements to be able to tap into ourselves on a deeper level. So it's therapy through dance. So I don't know if some of you maybe heard of music therapy, art therapy. There's also drama therapy. There are many different types of creative arts therapies, and dance therapy is one of those. So this allows us to be able to use our natural body movements to tap in at a deeper level. And it's a field that has been around for over 50 years. Although we know that healing and dance and movement has been a part of cultural traditions all over the world for several centuries, dance movement therapy was actually coined and brought in as a formal field in the United States over 50 years ago. And there are different levels of education, from master's all the way up to PhD and other levels. So it is a proper field that's been researched, and people are practicing and all that. So that's what dance movement therapy is.
Rightly put, ma'am. So basically,
Yes, I can hear you.
so basically, a lot of us have a yeah. So basically, a lot of us, like especially with the traditional society that we have, everybody feels that going to therapy is very tabooed. It is often considered, people have a lot of stigma when they think about going to therapy. Like you rightly said, it's like as if something is wrong with us, and the society would find out that we need therapy, because there's a lot of taboo and stigma around it. So I feel this is a very, very good time for a lot of us to explore the alternate forms of therapy, which is just not, only going to a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever problem or issue you are facing. It's also, developing and finding out about a lot of alternate therapies. So dance therapy movement and therapeutic movement, I feel, are, options that especially a lot of us can explore. So, my next question to you is, how is the dance movement therapy different from regular dancing?
Sure. So when we going back to the term therapeutic versus therapy, if we go to a Zumba class, for example, even if it's online now through a Zoom session or something, we might feel really good. We might feel happier. We might feel connected to others. Maybe we go to a salsa class and we feel more confident. So essentially, therapeutic movement, that's one side of therapeutic movement. And another range, it's on a range, it's a spectrum. Therapeutic movement can also go into looking at our, again, natural body movements. And for example, if you go to a drum circle and you start moving, right? Or you put on some music at home and you just start moving. Nobody's telling you exactly what to do. You're not in a class where you're learning a particular structured or technique, but you're moving because that's what's coming from within you. So that's kind of where therapeutic movement comes in. And it can be taken even further. So that's where how, therapeutic movement is that in regular dancing comes into this sort of umbrella of therapeutic movement. And that's what that is. Now, dance therapy, again, like I said, is working at a deeper level and understanding, the basic principle of dance movement therapy is that the mind and body are deeply interconnected. So we work through the body to be able to work at the psychological and mental, emotional levels, if that is clear a bit.
Right, ma'am. That was very nicely put. So, basically, like for someone, someone who needs to be good at dancing to be able to, take this therapy, because somebody like me, who I say have two left feet, and I cannot dance. So, can I also, use dance movement therapy?
Absolutely. This is a great question, and we get this quite a bit. See, we all have movement in us. From the time we are conceived to the time we leave our bodies, we have movement in us, right? So even this is a movement, right? This is a movement. These are all movements. So in dance therapy, that's why we like to call it creative movement therapy as well, because a lot of people hear the word dance and they immediately say, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming. That's too much. They feel intimidated because if you haven't really felt comfortable with dancing or feel that you haven't learned dancing, then that might not be something that you feel you would be able to do. But it's actually not that at all. In fact, it is that we work with whatever movements you have. In fact, dance movement therapists look at where the client is at, where the participant is at, and work from there. So, and it's across all different populations and sectors, including those who might be in a wheelchair, to those who might, not feel like they want to move, to any of us. We all can be there doing dance movement therapy, and we don't need any sort of dance background.
Right, ma'am, because this is a question that I really wanted to ask you, because a lot of us generally, have a problem where we feel that we are not good at dancing. And for someone like people like me who want to particularly access this form of therapy, this can be a point that can, stop us.
Sure.
So my next question to you is, since we're talking about two forms of therapy, one is the dance movement therapy and the second is the therapeutic movement. So if you can tell us the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can give you a few more examples. So therapeutic movement, again, is going to a dance class, right? It can go from going to a dance class.
Right.
It can be even, if you think about it, when you get together with friends at a party and you're dancing, you feel good. It makes you really stressed. It makes you have fun. It might help you to feel connected to others. So that's where we talk about that movement or dance is therapeutic. And so there's therapeutic movement. And also, as I mentioned, therapeutic movement could also be where you are still working with yourself. You are still looking at what your body feels like doing. You might start to understand or discover aspects of yourself. But when you get into dance therapy, we're going into a little more of the psychological aspect of it. We're going a bit deeper into things, right? So we use a lot of metaphors and images. So as somebody is moving, we might ask, and therapist is there to really facilitate the process. It's all about the process work. It's about, what's emerging, what's coming up from the unconscious. And so as you're moving, and the therapist is guiding you, you might start doing some movements, and the therapist might say, okay, so what is an image that's coming up for you right now, right? And that therapist may start to ask questions to say, how does that make you feel? What does it remind you of? Is it making you, do you feel like you have something that you want to express? So, I'm giving you a very simple example of it. But then it builds from there, and we go deeper and deeper, to then it helps for us to not only discover the self, but then also resolve certain issues or work on certain issues. They may be there, and sometimes it's based on some trauma that we have from the past or some part of our history. But it could also just be that right now there's anxiety. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of anxiety. And sometimes we don't have access to understanding that. So through movement in the body, we start to realize that, oh, wow, it's there. It's there for me. It's there. It starts to come out. So, sometimes, I'm going to give you another example to see if I can kind of relate it. Sometimes we might, for those who like journaling or writing, sometimes we are not able to necessarily verbalize what we are feeling. But we might find that writing, as we're journaling, stream of consciousness is coming out, and we might start to realize, oh, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot of stuff I'm holding, and it hasn't been expressed because some of it I didn't even know. And some of it I wasn't able to necessarily express. And that's one reason a lot of people choose dance therapy or creative movement therapy over traditional talk therapy, or what we talk about as psychotherapy, traditional talk therapy. Because it might be difficult to verbalize things, or maybe there's a level of discomfort in being able to sit in front of someone and talk about, what I'm going through, or maybe it's somewhere there in the body that just hasn't been explored yet. And that's usually what happens in dance movement therapy.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much for, giving out such great examples for our better understanding. So I certainly believe when we connect the mind with the body, we feel more connected, and I feel that can be healing, because for somebody who cannot like write down and journal properly, I feel this is an excellent form of therapy that, one should take into account, especially during the time that we are in a pandemic right now, and a lot of us are staying home and we are working from home, which is also sort of increasing the anxiety and the stress level, because we're sharing the four walls with our family members, and at times the boundary between the professional and the personal life is getting blurred and it is getting lost. So that is also increasing a lot of stress in people. So do you think this is a very good time for people who are sitting at home to explore these options of alternate therapy, when you cannot go and speak to a therapist like in person if you wanted to?
Absolutely. I think what's important in these times is for us to acknowledge what we're feeling and to be generous, to just understand that we are all experiencing ups and downs in our own way and to different levels. So it's natural. These are times in which there's so much uncertainty. We are bombarded with all sorts of news, and there might be things that right now you can go to that help you bring yourself to a place of centering, to feeling some joy, to having again your own space. That self-care is extremely important right now, and I know it can be challenging because we are maybe living and working and everything in one small area. So that's why it becomes even more important for us to recognize that it's okay. It's okay if I am feeling this. It's absolutely fine. And that, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And right now, what's going to work for me, maybe I'm going to try this, maybe is for me to go and find a quiet space and maybe look out the window at nature. Or maybe find a quiet space and move, maybe put on some music and just move around, dance. It doesn't matter what that looks like. Nobody's there to watch, and just express myself somehow, express, or just, it doesn't even have to be with an actual goal in mind. It could just be to do it. And that's where therapeutic movement can definitely come in our own spaces, in our own ways. It might be to join an online class where I feel I'm connecting, or I am getting a little bit of that structure. And then it could be that to find a dance therapist, and a lot of sessions are happening now virtually. Our profession is looking at ways to be able to engage with our existing clients, but also others who are looking to do dance therapy. So you do have access to that. The other thing I was going to mention is that what's important right now is to be able to create some boundaries, even if those are not physical. Sometimes it's right now. It's also very easy for personal and professional to mix up. And to be able to, where the office used to be a place where I did work and I'd come home and I left my work, or I only had an evening, 1 hour to do my work. Now that becomes again more challenging. So maybe finding ways to create some sort of structure, maybe a bit of routine, like every morning I'm going to sit with my cup of chai or coffee and I'm going to it's me time for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it may be, or I'm going to try meditation, or I'm going to go, I'm going to exercise, do a workout class, or whatever it might be. It's important to look for that whatever that self-care is going to be, and create some sort of routine and schedule in your life. While also being flexible within that. And what that means is there may be days where you don't want to do all of that, and it's also okay. Yeah.
Absolutely, ma'am. I really believe that right now, all of us should indulge in a certain form of self-care, if not anything. It can be dancing, it can be through writing, or it can be through reading a book, like you said, with a cup of chai, now that the weather is also nice. So I definitely believe that it is very important, because right now the social media and the news can also be very challenging for a lot of people. because most of us are spending a lot of time on the internet, or consuming content without actually even realizing what kind of content we are consuming. And it kind of affects our mental health also. Like, there are a few events or a few news that somebody hears about, they can be triggering for them, and that kind of puts the person into like a shell. And because people are home and they're not as able to, definitely some of us are staying with family, but most of us are not. And so it's also very difficult to go out and reach out to a friend, because especially with whatever is happening. So do you believe that it is also required to like have a filter on the kind of content that you're consuming and set boundaries there also?
Absolutely, Ankita. I think boundaries on all levels. I mean, definitely, there's so much that creates anxiety right now, and some of that is the news. Constantly checking our phones, and it's important to be aware. But I think what's happened now is that the type of news we typically are getting is about how numbers are increasing, or how many deaths there've been, how many infections there are, and what's happening all around. And there's other news as well that's going on around the world, and that just adds, to those levels of anxiety. And for every person, it's different. So again, you have to figure out for you what's okay. Is maybe 5 minutes in the morning of checking the news is enough. That's all I need to know what's happening in the world, overall. And not, and creating that boundary that no, I will not go and check, every news source, or I'm going to do it throughout the day. I'm just going to keep a certain time, and or maybe not at all. I know, there may be that it doesn't make sense right now for me to check the news. And that also goes to engaging with others. I mean, there might be, I know, there is like, there are terms that are out there, like I'm zoomed out, or I'm done with all the, types of online interactions I've done now, whether it's meetings or it's socializing. So it's important there as well to create those boundaries, saying, you know what, I think I'm going to cut down on those, or just finding those people that you feel you want to connect with, that feed your soul, that are going to help you, that you can be there for them, they can be there for you.
Absolutely, ma'am. I believe that is a wonderful piece of advice that, all of us must follow and have a routine and set some boundaries with the kind of people we are indulging in, at the same time, the content that we are consuming. So this brings me to my next question. Like, since you have you worked a lot with the transgenders, I know a lot of young people where, you strive to create a open and space, space where people can come out and they can talk about issues like gender and sexuality also. So do you believe that it becomes very important to also sort of promote the benefits of the creative movement therapy, or dance therapy, to certain set of people? Because even the COVID-19 times, we are in a pandemic, but the way we deal with it, not all of us come from a similar social circle. The pandemic is specifically hard on a few of us. So do you believe that when we talk about mental health, when we talk about any form of therapy, it is very important to also mention sort of that, that particular form of therapy should be socially inclusive, that where we bring together all different parts of, society and the sections of people. So do you feel that it becomes very important to actually sort of, talk about everyone when we're talking about therapy?
See, absolutely, it's important to be very socially inclusive. I think, as I mentioned earlier, every single one of us have things that we want to work on, or we're feeling right now, and dance therapy or therapeutic movement do not discriminate against any background, any socioeconomic class, any caste, any gender, any religion, any body type, anything like that. There is not a discrimination there. Everybody can avail dance therapy as an avenue to work on themselves. And I also, recognize and acknowledge that, unfortunately, the disparities that exist right now, socioeconomic and other disparities, have unfortunately grown even larger. They're more obvious as well. And so that is very, very important to understand, and to say that, and also people may not have access to, therapy or whatever it is. So this is a challenge that I think we face. I know through our organization, CIMTAI, Creative Movement Therapy Association of India, in general, we are trying to reach all segments of society and trying to spread the awareness of our field. And right now, we have even offered a few short, sort of therapeutic movement sessions that we are running as a campaign so people could join in. But we do understand that a lot of people may not have access to steady internet and other things. So it is definitely a challenge. And these are times that are very trying and more difficult for some than others. And it's also dependent on your mental states as well. It's not just about the condition you're in. There's so many people that have persevered and continue to persevere. And I do believe that we are resilient as humans. We are extremely resilient and we find our own paths. Yeah.
Right, ma'am. So the last question that I have for you is, do someone need to have like a struggle with their mental health and their mental well-being, or anybody in general can access these forms of therapy?
Anybody. You don't need to be in a certain state. Again, even when we look at mental health, we should think about a spectrum, right? You can have clinical diagnosis of certain conditions, but you can also be feeling just low or anxious or whatever it may be. And so there's a huge spectrum, and anybody and everybody should be able to have access at some point, we hope. And right now, definitely can think of therapeutic movement as well as dance therapy as options.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I believe, everybody should explore these sides of therapy, especially when we are stuck in a pandemic, and it is going to be really helpful. So, as we progress towards the end of the session, do you have any final piece of advice or a message that you would want to convey to the people watching you today?
I think the only thing I would like to say, which I've kind of covered, is maybe move and find your own groove. Look for ways in which you can engage with your body. Find ways in which you can feel centered, grounded, but also find joy. Engage in self-care and give yourselves the grace and the generosity that it's okay. It's okay. And to just be with it and go with the flow, and remember that, again, we are resilient and we will get through this, and that we just have to sort of be with ourselves, connect with ourselves. And if it makes sense, connect with others, find connection. Yeah. And so that's my last sort of bit.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And so, I don't know, Ankita, I don't know if there is time. I was just going to say, if there is time, I don't know if there is time, but if there is, I could do a quick activity, an experiential sort of exercise. If there's time, and if there's not, I absolutely understand.
That would be lovely, ma'am. I think most of us can definitely, use this sort of exercise right now. If you may, that would be great.
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. Just to start with, this is not dance therapy or anything like that, but these are elements or things that we might use as a starting point. Yeah, in dance therapy or in therapeutic movement.
Right.
This is one quick one. I'm going to see if I can do that within 5 to 10 minutes. And I invite all of you at home or wherever you may be to try this out and just be open to it. So first, I'd like, if if you feel comfortable, wherever you're at, if there's space for you to move around, it's even better. So I'm going to actually move a little bit here. Yes, yes, please. I invite you to come do this with me. So if we can start, first I'd like for you to just relax, start to take a few deep breaths and find your feet on the ground, wherever that may be, and make sure that you don't have anything around you that you might be injured by, that you have enough space. Yeah. And then I ask for you to slowly close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And again, take a few deep breaths. And as you're doing that, start to just notice the sensations that you're feeling in your body. Just notice them, whatever that might be. A pitter-patter, a slight vibration, a tingling, a tightness, a numbness, whatever that might be that you're feeling, just notice it. There's nothing to change, nothing to do, just notice. Keep breathing. Allow yourself to sink into that. And now we're going to do a quick movement warm-up in which I'll say a body part, and I'd like for you to explore the movements that you feel like doing right now with that body part. It can be anything. So let's start with our heads. And if you will just start to move your head any which way. Whatever feels right now. And as you're moving, maybe notice, again, the sensations that you're feeling. Just notice them. Let's move to our shoulders. Many of us hold tension in our shoulders. Just notice if there's any tension in your neck and your shoulders that you might want to release. Let's go to our arms. And do whatever feels right to you right now. See if it feels good to stretch. Maybe again, release anything that's there. It's maybe feeling blocked or held up. Let's take it to the front part of our bodies, our chest and our abdomen. Move down to our hips. A lot of us might be feeling aches and pains from sitting a lot or from not getting the same routine activity that we do. So just see if that's there for you and see what you feel like doing. Maybe they're fast movements, maybe slow, maybe stretching, maybe whatever that is. And then let's go down our legs and over to our knees. Yeah, whatever that feels like. Knees. And if you want to explore some movements, maybe things you're not used to doing, you can do that as well. You can take your knees and see what kind of movements you can do with your knees. And then let's take it to our feet. Maybe, again, some on your toes, on your heels, whatever it feels like. You might hear some cracking. And then twisting. You can try making different designs on the floor. You can pull your leg up and back, whatever it feels like that you want to do. Try exploring some movements. And now to your back. Let's move up the body to your back and see what it is that you're finding in your back that you want to do right now. Maybe a stretch, whatever that is. And slowly up, again, up the body. And let's end with a little bit of head movement again. And now as you're doing that and bringing that to a close, I want you to imagine a place that you'd like to be in right now. With your eyes closed, just imagine a place that you want to be in right now. That could be a garden. It could be sitting in front of the ocean. It could be sitting with your friends. Whatever that place is, just start to imagine it as if you're there. Take in the sounds, the sights, the smells, and start to feel as if you're there right now. And now start to move in a way that you feel like moving there. Whatever that is. Maybe it's not how you would typically move there, but whatever you feel like doing, any part of your body, wherever you are. If that brings joy, whatever you feel like doing, you're there in that place that you want to be right now. It's your place of comfort and safety and happiness. And just allow yourself to move. Maybe engaging with the things there if you feel, or just moving. Keep breathing. Notice what you see, what you smell, what you feel. How does it make you feel? What are the colors that you see? What are the sounds that you hear? How do you want to express yourself? And maybe start to bring your movements to a close, a gentle, gentle close. Bring that closure within. Start to come back to the body. Slowly bring your movements inward. Breathe. Maybe smile if you feel like you want to smile. And start to bring your body to a bit of stillness. And then bring your awareness to your sensations currently so that you come back into your current location and space. Breathe. Breathe. And when you're ready, you can start to open your eyes gently. Yeah. And to end with, you can think of just some very gentle movements that move the energy up, down. You can follow me with this routine if you'd like. So you can move the energy up, down, open, close, open, and back to center. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all stay well. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Stay well. Make sure you do things that make you feel good. And I hope that was something that you can take back with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Great.
Absolutely, ma'am. I believe this was certainly a starting point in this therapy. I thank you on the behalf of Womennovator for taking out your time today and sharing your knowledge with us. It was definitely a very, very insightful session. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time with us today and being such a wonderful speaker. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Stay well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ankita.